Hello everyone. The next topic which we will be discussing here is about the mechanism of the hormone action. So first we will understand that what are hormones and what are the systems that are responsible for the production of the hormone. So let's start with the introduction first. So we know that the nervous system and the endocrine system, they are the two main controlling systems of our body. So the endocrine system, it controls the body with the help of hormones they release. So these hormones, they bind with specific receptors on the target cell and further proceed to trigger the intracellular signals either by altering the membrane permeability, that is acting through the secondary messenger system, or by activating the genes to form the new proteins. To understand this mechanism better, we will first go through some of the definitions. For example, hormone action. So what are hormones? Hormones, they are a tiny chemical messengers that is traveling along the bloodstream. So it exists to maintain the internal balance, or in other words, it keeps the human body in a state of homeostasis. So there is an external rudimentary definition of hormones. As in reality, there are numerous hormones that perform an intense number of functions for various purposes. So starting with receptors, there are specific they are specific for every hormone. So their sensitivity and responsiveness are dependent on both the number of receptors and its affinity. So also the site of the receptor might be present in or on the surface of the cell membrane. Example, protein or peptide hormones. If I take the example of cytoplasm, there are steroid hormones, and the cell nucleus, it have the thyroxine. So hormones can be divided into groups on the basis of their chemical nature. So there are peptide, polypeptide and protein hormones, then steroids, thyroid hormones and amino acid derivatives. So the hormone, they interact with the membrane bound receptors generally, but they don't enter the target cells. Rather, they generate second messengers that proceed to regulate the cellular metabolism. On the other hand, hormones which interact with the intercellular receptors, they mostly regulate the gene expression or chromosome function by the interaction of hormone receptor complex with the genome. So the sum total of all the biochemical action results in physiological and developmental effects. Now, what is the mechanism of hormone action? So the mechanism of hormone action has been grouped into two categories. First is the fixed membrane receptor mechanism, and second is the mobile receptor mechanism. So these are the two kinds of mechanisms. So we will be studying in detail about these two mechanisms of hormone action. So first will be our fixed membrane receptor mechanism. So this type of mechanism is shown by water-soluble hormones that are amines or proteins which are in composition, uh, for example, with the growth hormones, oxytocin and ADH. So these hormones, they cannot pass through the lipid membrane. They have their target receptor on the cell membrane to which the hormone binds. So when the hormone binds to the specific receptor, the enzyme adenyl cyclase, this is an enzyme which is being present in the cell membrane and it gets activated. So what this enzyme do is, these enzymes helps in the production of the cyclic AMP, that is CAMP. So it will release the production of CAMP. Now the CAMP, what this what this do? So this acts as a secondary messenger. It diffuses through the cell membrane and it activates several enzymatic reactions that cause the biochemical changes. Now the target cell responds to these changes and CAMP, it gets deactivated by the enzyme phosphodiesterase. So this was about the fixed membrane complex. Next is about the mobile receptor mechanism. So what is happening in this mechanism is this type of mechanism is shown by the lipid soluble hormones. So the examples here will include the fatty acids and steroids. So these types of hormone they can easily pass through the plasma membrane. They possess the intracellular receptors. So the hormone they bind to the target receptors and that activates the enzymatic activity of the cell and they bring about the biochemical changes. So transcription of the DNA it is being initiated by the hormone receptor complex. The mRNA it is translated into the proteins. So this protein causes the biochemical changes inside the cell. So this will cause the biochemical changes inside the cell. Now hormones they can act as messengers also. So the neurosecretory cells of the hypothalamus, that is a gland present in the brain, it secretes hormones that are known as the neurohormones into the blood. So these neurohormones they are carried to the puberty gland and stimulate it to release various hormones. So hence they are known as the releasing factor. So that is why this is known as the releasing factor. So this was all about the mechanism of the hormone action and how the hormones they act as messengers. So this was all about it. These are some of the references. Thank you.